I'm not making it out to be more than it was, but like green zone, people thought it was safe zone, but it wasn't. There was they were
taking hits for sure.
There was a big ID threat. They're blowing up cars all over the place. There's sporadic machine gun fire. They were just, randomly lob rockets and, mortar fire in the city. And we used to just try and chase them down. It was this futile attempt, man, in that environment. Like the Blackwater guys be flying. They're like, yeah, we're going to go target these guys. I'm like, that's not planning, man. This is not how we lead, and this is how the Marines do it. So we ultimately separated ourselves from Team Blackwater. But, they had their purpose.
So then you get done with that deployment. What's next?
School. I had gotten selected to go to the resident course in Quantico at the Expeditionary Warfare School, which is 6 months. And so and after that, it's a captain's prep course, basically.
So it's like for company command.
Yeah, you're a captain going through there, and then you've got a whole slew of majors that are your faculty advisors that guide you along the way because they've already been company commanders, and so they're prepping you for that. But it's a lot of detailed planning, mission prep. There's not really a whole lot of PT. You kind of do it on your own. So it's a very academic environment, but it's an important stepping stone too to prepare you for that next level of leadership. And that's when I got the call that I would not. This is interesting too because the Marine Corps did have a great sense of humor, but they called like 5 of us in. They go, and we go into the office of the director, who's a full colonel at the time. Says, you guys aren't graduating with your class, and we're like, what do we do? They said, you got orders to report in early. So we were like, you didn't get to walk across the stage or anything in the formal graduation. So I got orders to 2nd Battalion, 4th Marines. And they're like, you need to check in now. It was like they're getting ready for a big dump of Marines, all the new guys, and then you're going to start your training cycle. So I literally packed up all my stuff, drove across the country, towed my Jeep out, parked in the parking lot. It was like a Thursday night or something. I rolled in with all my stuff and then took command on Friday. And then the next week we're back in 29 Palms training. It was, and then I was living out of my office, and Marines hated it. They hated me for it. Like, oh man, that guy's crazy. Like,
you were just on 24 hours a day.
There was no point in even getting an apartment or a house because the training cycle was just so intense. Everybody knows, like, that's been in the military, like, you just want to go on deployment because the training is so relentless. Like the way we prepare our guys is merciless. And the fact that I lived in my office, the Marines knew they were never going to break. I wasn't a tyrant, but it was convenient for me.
Yeah. Work to do. And so you guys finished workup. Do you know where you're going on deployment?
We didn't. We knew we were going with the 15th MEU. Mm-hmm. Like we knew we were doing a MEU deployment, and there's always 3 MEUs that are running across the globe. Is the planet's 911 force that's 2,500 Marines, soldiers, and sailors, and the amphibious ready group that carries us out there. But we didn't find out about our deployment until then. Colonel Boudreau, now retired Major General Boudreau, got us all on the flight deck of the USS Boxer and announced that we were going into country. Because for listeners who remember, that was the surge that President Bush and General Abizaid and others, they ordered this surge. And I always explain it as up until that point, and you were in it at the time because we were 2 ships passing in the night in 2006. The insurgency had become what I call this giant game of whack-a-mole, where we were just hammer them down in one city like Fallujah, and we'd crush their asses into fine powder, and they'd go to ground, and then they'd seep away, and they'd pop up somewhere else. And the surge allowed us to flood the battle space with additional 15,000, 20,000 troops. And it was a tough decision to commit the theater reserve in the Middle East, and that's what the MEU was. But they did that, and it allowed for us to put pressure on all those pockets of resistance simultaneously. And as you know, in 2006, that's just where all the bad guys chose to fight. They picked Ramadi, and they were going to make a stand. And like we were saying, it really was the Super Bowl of combat, man. You write about that. It's like to be a company commander, an infantry company commander in charge of over 250 Marine soldiers and sailors in that environment where you're fighting every single day, 4, 5, 6 times a day on some days against a very well-trained insurgent force. It doesn't get any more intense. And, we could talk leadership all day long, man, but, the leadership at every level was the thing that probably allowed us to survive. And it was survival, as you know. It wasn't winning or losing. We didn't have real metric. It was survival. I mean, if you had to take, a scoreboard, I mean, the amount of people my guys were lighting up and killing we were lighting up the scoreboard. I mean, but that was never really quantified to us. Like, the administration or the senior level never really told us what winning was. A lot of guys have a problem with that. A lot of guys, you have to know what that end state is. We never did. Killing bad guys is one metric. Mine was always bringing as many home alive as I could. Just taking care of my boys and making sure that they knew what their mission was every single day at the lowest level. Tough.
Yeah, you mentioned finding out, the Marine Corps birthday. I'm going to go to the book here. You say on the 231st birthday of the Marine Corps, the 15th MEU Commander, Colonel Brian, how do you say his name? Boudreaux stood on the Boxer's flight deck and announced that to the hundreds of Marines and sailors gathered that we'd be going into Iraq. They responded to the news exuberantly. I sensed an excitement from the new Marines, the ones who had never been in combat before. Many, I suppose, still harbored romantic notions of how combat is going to be, running into the blaze of battle, firing their M16s, and annihilating an untrained, inferior enemy. If that's what they were thinking, they'd know better soon enough. They were about to experience the intensity of combat and see death on a scale like they'd never imagined. You guys knew, or did you know, as a company commander, are you reading the intel reports every day of what's happening in Ramadi? Because I know I was supposed to deploy to Baghdad, and then 2 weeks before we left for deployment, they told us we were going to Ramadi. But I had been following Ramadi the whole time. I knew what was going on there. You see the sit reps. You see how many people are getting killed there. We knew we were going into the belly of the beast. Did you have that same information?
We do a fly ahead to the RCT at the time. It got a really good intel dump. We were getting some indications and warnings on ship, but again, OPSEC on ship, they really didn't want us talking about it. We were in River City, which is complete communication shutdown for about 2 weeks. Yeah. So can't call the family, can't hop on the internet, none of that.
Are you guys tracking like when 3/8's there? Because I was there when 3/8 was there. 3/8 lost like 17 guys on that deployment. They lost, I think, 9 before I showed up, but that's a significant amount of guys to lose. Are you guys tracking that? You see another battalion in Ramadi, you know what's happening, you see those casualty reports.
Yeah, we were getting all of that once John Smith had Fox Company. He's still on active duty, he's a colonel now. But he and I were assigned to Ramadi. That was the thing too, is so we rewind, they commit the theater reserve, which again is the MEU is 2,500 Marine soldiers and sailors, and we disembark amphibious shipping from the 3 ships, but they send us out in piecemeal. So Echo and Fox, we got sent to Ramadi to work under 11 BCT. Now, I didn't even see John Smith for a while because they were farming us out like scab labor. And the other part of the MEU went up to Haditha, and then we had the MEU command element over in Camp Korean Village in Rupa.
Yeah,
which we ultimately wound up closing our deployment out in Rupa, clearing that truck stop of a city out.